Hey everyone, it's Xavier to Music again. Welcome to my favorite albums of 2025. Now, if you remember, I of course did a version of this for last year, for 2024, and there were a ton of albums that I was very excited to talk about, very excited to get into, and I had a lot of fun making it. So I figured I would do it again this year. I did say that I might do some content between then and now, which you can see didn't pan out, but that's okay because we're here again. It's the end of the year, and I got a ton of records that I really want to talk about. So much, in fact, that I had to extend the list to top 25, not just a top 20. Unfortunately, that means we're going to forego the honorable mentions, but in the hopes that we can get through even more records this year, we're going to get right into it. Our top 25 of 2025. Here we go. Kicking off the list, our number 25 spot, Viagra Boys. They're back with their self-titled record, the first one they put out since their previous record in 2023, titled Cave World, which I have also been addicted to this year because I just got introduced to the band this year, and I've been loving their stuff quite a bit. They're such a humorous group with a ton of groove, ton of post-rock and dance punk hits, all over both of these records. I mean, just off of this one alone, we're talking about Man Made of Meat, Store Policy, and Dirty Boys especially as well. I mean, there's just too much fun packed into this self-titled record to miss out on this year. And it's one of the more accessible records that I think has come out this year as well. So definitely give this one a shot. Get introduced to Viagra Boys. They're such a fantastic band that I don't think you should miss out on this decade. At our number 24 spot is going to be another album from a group that I just got introduced to that year. That is going to be Horror with their new album, Tomorrow We Escape. Now, this is going to be one of the most diverse records that you're going to hear this year because Horror, of course, is a punk rap duo that has just started their career within the past decade or so. They're a pretty new group, but this record here not only features a bunch of that punk rap style that they've done over the course of that period of time, like with the song Incline, which is one of my favorite tracks of this year, mind you, but there's a bunch of new metal revivalist stuff on here. There's a bunch of thrash metal, punk, hardcore. It's got so much on here with a bunch of really great features from the likes of Pink Sifu and even Chelsea Wolfe, who made my favorite albums list last year as well. It's just a ton of fun packed into a bunch of really hard-hitting metal, punk, and hip-hop inspired tracks that I think should definitely not be missed this year. At our number 23 spot is going to be the new De La Soul record, Cabin in the Sky. Now, unfortunately, this record is a bit of a tribute to the one and only Trugoy the Dove that passed away back in, I believe, 2023. But I can say it is a beautiful tribute, and not only is it a beautiful tribute, but I think it's a fantastic statement this long into De La Soul's career. I mean, we're talking about a jazz rap trio that spawned out of the late 80s, and now we're here in 2025, and they still sound this good. I mean, the consistency across this record is just incredible to me, and some fantastic features laced all throughout this thing as well. There's tracks with Q-Tip, there's tracks with Nas, with Black Thought, with Yukimi. Giancarlo Esposito does the skits like across this album as well. It's just plain old fun De La Soul energy, and it is spilling out all over this thing. It's incredible. I really love it, especially as a fan of 3 Feet High and Rising. This album here, it feels like such a beautiful follow-up to that in light of the tragic passing of Trugoy the Dove. It's such a heartwarming and comforting hip-hop release, and you definitely should all go check it out. At our number 22 spot is going to be yet another hip-hop album that has massively impressed me this year. That is going to be Backwash's new album, Only Dust Remains. Now, this album I would also consider a bit heartwarming and optimistic, but maybe not for the same reasons as the De La Soul album, because this album, Backwash struggles a lot with her mental health and her sense of self-worth, alongside all of the tragic current events that are happening in the world over the course of the past few years, especially. And a lot of these songs on here, while they do deal with these dark subject matters, they tend to end with this hope for the future that doesn't feel quite like almost any other album in this list. It's quite a beautiful album that feels like a hug from a personal friend, especially in these dark times that we're currently in right now. I also really gotta praise this album's production as well. I mean, the songs are already so emotionally impactful from a lyrical standpoint, but everything from the pounding drums, the beautiful synth layers, and the energetic samples like on the song Wake Up really help bring this album to life in a way that I honestly was not expecting on first listen. It's incredible. And would you look at that? We're going 3 for 3 on hip hop releases because our number 21 spot is going to be one of my most anticipated albums of this year, the new Little Sims album, Lotus. Now, for those of you who don't know, this album was made in part as a response to a financial dispute that Little Sims had with previous collaborator Inflow, who worked with Little Sims over the course of her past few records, like Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, as well as Gray Area and No Thank You. And with Lotus, she has ditched Inflow to work with Miles Clinton James. And his production on this album is honestly incredible too. I mean, it's some of the most raw Little Sims has sounded for her entire career up until this point, especially the tracks that feature a lot more acoustic instrumentation. And on top of that, it's another really diverse record as well. I mean, you have Only, which is Little Sims over top of a bossa nova instrumental. You have tracks like Young as well, which features Little Sims putting on this like caricature of like an old British woman, and unfortunately I don't think it got the credit that it deserved. It is a really fun track. But there's also tracks like Blood as well that feature Wretch 32 and Cash. It's kind of like this back and forth talk between brother and sister about what's going on in their lives and the problems that they hash out with each other. There's a bunch of really interesting stuff on this record that I think for Little Sims is just fantastic to see her working within. And I think it's fantastic to see her in a much better spot now after this whole financial dispute has taken place. I'm really happy to see Little Sims where she is with this record. And at number 20, a band that you'll recognize from last year's list. That's right, it's Chat Pile again, but this time a collaboration with Hayden Padigo, a bit of a acoustic guitar, like ambient experimentalist from what I'm aware of. And their sounds honestly mesh together, at least within the macro picture of a record, really well. There's a bunch of songs that feel mostly like Hayden Padigo songs, or they feel mostly like Chat Pile songs. But there's a few cuts where both of their styles really do mesh together super well. A personal favorite of mine being the closing track, A Tear for Lucas, which is honestly probably the most devastating song you will hear this year. It's an absolutely heartbreaking track where Ray Gun Bush is damn near crying over the loss of a very close friend of his, I would assume very recently, and it's some of the most gut-wrenching stuff you will hear. Outside of that, though, we see the return of Chat Pile's usual sludge metal and noise rock sounds that I love so much off of their previous two records, which God's Country I also heard this year for the first time and loved the hell out of that record. And Hayden Padigo's contributions to the records, even in the more interlude type moments, I think are super beautiful, and they act as these wonderful little bridges between the Chat Pile moments on the record and the, songs where both of their styles mesh together super well. It's a fantastic record, a really sad and devastating one at that, especially by the end point, but nonetheless an incredible record. And at number 19, the queen of modern art pop is back, at least in my opinion, Spelling with Portrait of My Heart. I've been loving the hell out of this record. And for those of you who know me personally, her last record, The Turning Wheel, is genuinely one of my favorite albums of all time. I think it's gorgeous. But instead of the art pop centered sounds that she brought with The Turning Wheel, this time she's blending them with more of a rock aesthetic to them. And a lot of these songs kind of sound like what you would imagine like an old Disney XD, like I guess teenage sitcom like soundtrack to sound like. I don't know if they call them teenage sitcoms, but you probably know what I'm talking about. But somehow it just works. It somehow loses like all of its corniness and just goes straight into being like goddamn jaw dropping. Now, for sure, there's tracks like Destiny Arrives that are definitely more of like an art pop flavor to them, but it's not the main focus of the record. I mean, tracks like Drain, I think, put it into perspective perfectly. I mean, it sounds almost like a grunge and new metal fusion. Like, hearing Spelling do something like that is crazy, but it just works so well. At our number 18 spot is definitely going to be one of the more experimental albums in our list today. That's going to be the collaboration record between Sumac and Moormother titled The Film. Now, if you don't know, I am a huge fan of Moormother's vocals in particular. I mean, the Billy Woods and Moormother collaboration record that I think was released at the beginning of this decade is one of my favorites in Billy Woods' catalog specifically, and that's because Moormother's presence vocally on that album is completely unignorable. Her range is incredible, and especially when she hits her lower register, it becomes this completely like overwhelming force on any given song that she's on, and this record is no different. And the metal riffs that Sumac brings to the table here complement Moormother's vocals so well, especially when considering a lot of the subject matters that she's talking about through the entirety of this record, those being of surveillance, slavery, capitalism, genocide. It's an apocalyptic experience. It's not really an album that you can just listen to one song from. You really have to get the entire experience for it to really click with you. It's honestly one of the most poetically devastating and like frightening things you'll hear this year. At number 17 is going to be a record that grew on me a lot this year. And if you remember my original review for it, I actually wasn't really all that pleased with it, at least until this past month has gone by, where it quickly shot up to be on this list and is definitely one of my favorites of this year. That's going to be Jane Remover's new record, Revenge Seekers. This thing is a really, really noisy, mind-frying experience from start to finish. A bunch of the songs kind of dabble in rage music and in blends with hyperpop as well. And they're all, despite their harsh noise, are so catchy and so goddamn fun. While it may not be my favorite record of the year, this thing has several of my top 10, maybe top 5 favorite songs of this year for free. I mean, Psycho Boost featuring Danny Brown, Professional Vengeance as well, probably my favorite off of this record. Even Dancing with Your Eyes Closed as well is just an incredible track. JR, the closing like track to this record, is so fun, it's so catchy. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. It is just a mind-bogglingly exciting experience. So many tracks on here that I just love for their catchiness, for their immediate impact. There's really nothing like it. I should also add, while Jane Remover did release Revenge Seekers this year, she also very recently released an EP as well that I'm just gonna dub like heart. I don't know. It's just a symbol of a heart. But I've been loving the hell out of this thing too. Like every song on this EP is incredible. They're more pop focused than before, but they're very like varied depending on where their influences is. I mean, one of them has like a Jersey beat on them. One of them is a bit of like a Latin flip too. And Dream Sequence is an incredible closer that I think calls back to a lot of Jane Remover's earlier work as well. And it feels so impactful as a result. Incredible EP. I mean, these two records combined are just incredible. At number 16 is going to be another album from an artist that I just got introduced to this year. In fact, this is their debut record. That's going to be the Polish tape machine experimentalist Miffle with their debut album titled Goodbye World. Now, this album, similar to the De La Soul album that popped up earlier, is a tribute to a close friend of Miffle's that passed away also back in 2023, if I remember correctly. But the sounds of these two records could not be any more different. I say that because the sounds of Goodbye World are focused on these tape machine recorded acoustic and electronic ambient movements that just flow so nicely throughout this record from the first track to the last. And the best way I can describe it is as if you're jumping through these fuzzy, distant memories of somebody that you held really close to you. And there is a potent sense of loss that comes through in these beautiful ambient arrangements. But more than anything, what comes through is this sense of love and care that you shared for this person when they were still with us. And while it does feel very desolate in a lot of these moments because of the feelings of loss that it's attached to, you come out of it feeling more glad that you're alive. And you come out of it feeling more thankful for every moment that you have here on Earth. At number 15 is going to be a record that I had only listened to for the first time very recently, but instantly fell in love with it. That is going to be the debut Anastasia record, Tether. This one was honestly one of the most flooring singer-songwriter records I've heard in recent memory. The acoustic guitar, very folksy ballads that she sings are so incredible, and the sheer force and vibrato that's in her voice and the range as well is breathtaking. I mean, when I talked about More Mother beforehand, I mean, obviously she has her own sort of appeal to her in a lot of these songs that sound so apocalyptic. But with Anastasia, she breathes so much life into these songs that surround feelings of love or more interpersonal feelings as well that really make Tether one of the most gorgeous and jaw-dropping records of the year, easily. And speaking of singer-songwriters, my favorite one from Mexico, Natalia Lafourcade with her new album, Cancionera. Now, I've been loving the hell out of everything I've heard from Natalia Lafourcade up until this point. I saw her live earlier this year, and the show was absolutely incredible. Please go see her live if you haven't already. But Natalia Lafourcade mostly focuses on chamber folk and Latin jazz. She has this incredible voice to her that I think makes these records just shine so bright. De Todas las Flores was, of course, the only other record I've heard from her, and it's already one of my favorite albums of all time as well. Cancionera is not far behind at all. A lot of this album apparently, I think, was recorded to tape in just one take, which massively impressive, like for how lush a lot of these arrangements are. The sound is so beautifully intimate. You can hear like the room she's recording in and all of them. All the sound that's just bouncing off of the recording studio she's in just makes it feel like these performances are being played right in front of you. And all the songs are so heartfelt. Again, the vocals are just gorgeous. I mean, if you're not listening to Natalia Lafourcade in the current year, 2025, or in 2026, or in the past, 5 years, what are you doing? What are you doing? At number 13, it's another record that grew on me exponentially over the course of this year, though it was a bit of a slower process than the Jane Remover one was, which was a very immediate warming up to that record. But this one took place over the course of the year as it went by. It's going to be another hip-hop record from this year. In fact, many people would say it's the hip-hop record from this year, and I would not blame them for that. Clips is fucking back with Let God Sort 'Em Out. I've been loving the shit out of this record recently, especially the first, half of this record is just filled with generational hip-hop song after another. So Be It, Mike Tyson Blow to the Face, POV, Birds Don't Sing, an incredible song dedicated to Clips' mother and father that passed away within the past, 20 years or so. Absolutely beautiful track. What else is there? Chains and Whips featuring Kendrick Lamar. I mean, every single one of these songs features verses left and right and left and right and left and right that are verse of the decade minimum. Like, I mean, Pusha T and Malice are so easily in the best rapper conversation of all time that I would be shocked if you did not place them in the top 20. I don't care who you are. Anyway, this record is just fucking incredible. I will say it does stumble across the finish line just a little bit for me. I've kind of laid out why I thought so in my revisited review that I did very recently, but everything else on this record is just banger after banger after banger, and it just does not fucking stop. The production is incredible, especially for the first half of the record, like I mentioned before. All the verses are so memorable. They're so catchy. The hooks are so impactful, especially on like the biggest hits from this record. I just can't sing this thing's praises enough. Next up at number 12, it is another EP, a 90-minute one at that. Bit long for an EP, but that is how she labeled this project. That's going to be Ethel Cain's Perverts. This is another ambient project from this year that blew me away, though it could not be more different aesthetically from the previous one we talked about, Miffle's record, Goodbye World. Because while that record brings up loss in a light that's very heartwarming, it's very comforting, Perverts, by comparison, is one of the most haunting records I have heard in my entire life. I'm not exaggerating that. This record feels so desolate, so like lonely, that it genuinely puts you like in a very defensive state, like after a little bit. The very first track on this record features some sounds that I would like label as being akin to being in an analog horror video. Though if I'm being honest, the fact that it's so unsettling is what makes it so incredible to me. Because there's some incredible ambient releases out there, and there's quite a few that actually came out this year. One that I didn't even mention that didn't even make this list was the 10 Tricks Point Never album, Tranquilizer, that I did really enjoy, but just barely didn't make this list. Every other ambient release this year definitely puts you like in a certain headspace, but none as much as Perverts for me. You step out of this album an entirely different person. Whether that's because you get scared half to fucking death for the sounds that this thing brings up, or the more beautiful ballads on this thing just woo you over entirely. It's such an insanely well-crafted experience from front to back. Even if I haven't been very impressed with Ethel Cain's other work, like up until this point, what's on Perverts is just immaculate. It's such a beautiful yet such a frightening experience that is unlike anything else this year. And at number 11, right at the edge of the top 10, I'm going to place the new Model Actress album, Pirouette. This is another group that I got introduced to for the first time this year, thanks to this record, actually. And I did check out their debut record as well. And I have been loving the both of them so much. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how up my alley this group's sound is. Both of the Model Actress records that are out feels like being at like one of the most disturbing clubs you've ever been to. There's these weird metallic like scraping sounds that they play with all over this record, all over the previous record as well, that really just bring the noise rock element to such a perfect amount to blend with the more like dance punk nature. It is such a wonderful blend of sounds that they mess with. And even if their songs and instrumentation do feel, or at least you would expect them to feel like a little samey after a while, they just keep hitting you with another effectively written song after another. I mean, on this record especially, I think it varies a little more than their debut record, especially with songs like Acid Rain, which are these really slow, like ballad type tracks that really hit home, like for me. Even though like I say hit home, but I don't necessarily mean that those experiences are very similar to my experiences, but they're just so emotionally impactful. I would absolutely give these guys a shot if you haven't heard them already. Even if you're not necessarily a fan of like noise rock, really, because I feel like if there's going to be any genre of their music that's going to turn you off, it's probably going to be that element of it. But even if you're not that much of a fan of it, I would definitely give these guys a shot anyway, because I feel like this may be the perfect entry point into a genre like that. That may be controversial, I don't know, but I think this album is incredible. Easily one of my favorite albums of the year. And just like that, we're in the top 10. What's at my number 10 spot? I'm glad you asked. It's Nina Geraci. I Love My Computer. Absolutely fantastic electronic music album this year. Probably my favorite electronic music album this year, at least for the ones that, are like fully electronic albums, specifications aside. What a fantastic Y2K era aesthetic EDM and like, I guess like part dubstep record as well. Like it is just an absolute madhouse full of electronic music, fun, perfect for the dance floor, like amazing tracks like Fuck My Computer, CSIRAC, Battery Death, Info Hazard. I mean, the whole thing from start to finish is just filled with incredibly fun, irresistible tracks. If you love anything Porter Robinson has put out, like over the course of his entire career, I'd say, but probably his more like early material, you're going to want to listen to this record. It is so much fun. I was not able to put it down the month I heard it for the first time. It is so addictive. You got to listen to it. And at number 9, is going to be an album from another artist that I was just introduced to this year, and what an introduction it was. That's going to be The Passionate Ones by Nourished by Time, a wonderfully produced bedroom pop and R&B album, and I guess like part soul as well, just filled with a bunch of these lush, smooth, lo-fi psychedelic hits one after the other. I mean, Max Potential, Idiot in the Park, 9 to 5 if you want something a little more like disco focused or like Michael Jackson inspired, Baby Baby if you want something that's like underground hip hop like related. Like it just has so much going for it. And all of the hits on it are just nice and smooth. They're easygoing most of the time, bunch of love focused tracks that'll just win your heart over. I can't sing its praises enough. It's a fantastic record, and I'm really, really, really excited to see where he goes next. And at number 8 is going to be another returning band from last year's list, a very active one this year at that. And that's going to be Maruja with their new EP, Tir na Nog. That's right, not the album yet. Not the album yet. We'll get there. We'll get there, okay? We'll get there. So, if you remember correctly, Conla's Well was the EP that made my favorite projects of last year, of 2024. And this EP here, Tir na Nog, is a very different EP by comparison, because this, instead of being a set of structured like jazz punk and post-rock songs, is now a 4-movement fully improvised piece that they put together, I believe, after they toured for Conla's Well last year. And the level that they're performing at is just insane to me, because like you would think that they have like a neural link that just connects all of their minds together and they can just read their thoughts like as they're playing, but no, this is just how they play on their own. And I remember them mentioning before that this sort of improvisational practice that they do is almost like a therapy to them, and you can really tell, because it feels like more than just music. It feels like a healing process as they're playing. It's mind-blowing stuff. At number 7, one of the most addictive albums that I've been playing this year. In fact, the album that I apparently have played the most as of the beginning of December is going to be the new Haunting Barna album, Soft Spot. These guys are a Norwegian noise rock and hardcore band that I had, again, only just heard of this year for the first time. And it's incredible just how wild these guys sound this far into their career. These guys are like over a decade like old at this point. Like these guys are seasoned veterans at the genre, and yet they're still cooking up like albums that sound this goddamn well put together. And talk about anthemic too. I mean, tracks like Amor Fati, Heute ist mein Tag, God Gut, King Spud. There's so many tracks on here that, despite them being in an entirely different language, just feel so goddamn catchy and so much like an earworm that they just never escape you. And there's even tracks that dive more into the like more harsh side of noise rock, like MP5, where it's just a barrage of shrill tones just going in your ear. It's just non-stop energy on this thing. Also, one of my favorite ways to introduce an album like ever, with that like slow spoken word track that just like slowly builds up. You hear like the noise building up, and then the real first track kicks in, and it's just a complete like explosion of like some metal guitar tone. Oh my god, it's so good. This album's so fucking good. Please go listen to it. All right, at number 6 is going to be my metal album of the year. That's going to be Deaf Heaven's Lonely People with Power. I was so surprised by this record. I'm not typically like that big of a metal fan. I don't go out of my way to listen to like a lot of metal. I mean, obviously there's some highlights. The Knocked Loose record last year was a big highlight of that year for me as well. But this honestly might be even better to me. This is just such a beautiful blend of black metal and shoegaze, and this album got me to go listen to their classic album Sunbather that they put out, I want to say in 2013, and it was equally as good. And I've heard that the albums that they've put out were more like in between these two, were more of a transitional phase for the band, and they're not nearly as good. But just going off of these two albums alone, what an incredibly talented band. I mean, just the movements alone and the lyrics that deal in this like sexual guilt or like discomfort in growing up in a world around you where everything is so based in sex or so based in like physical attraction. It's also compelling. The vocals on it are like a very almost like, I wouldn't say screamo, but they're very harsh, they're very loud. They're very much like a very gravelly like tone, I guess you could say, but they just work so well. It takes a little getting used to the first time you listen to it, but it'll click. I promise you it'll click. This album is incredible. Easily one of the best metal albums I've ever heard. Definitely go listen to it. And just like that, we're in the top 5. We're almost at the finish line. And these are some albums I am super, super, super excited to talk about. Most of them I was already really anticipating before they came out, and they just completely lived up to every little ounce of hype that they were getting. And we're going to kick off this part of the list with Black Country New Road, Forever How Long. If you know me at all, you know I love the hell out of this band. These guys are easily at the forefront of indie music, in my mind at least. They've been one of the most important groups within the windmill scene in the UK. And this album here is the first full-length project that they've put out ever since the departure of Isaac Wood from the group. And now there's a lot of people who are very skeptical of what that would mean for the band's trajectory going forward. There's people who don't think Black Country New Road is the same without him. There's people who think it would be even better without him. I personally like both of them around equally, and I think Forever How Long is a perfect example of that, and it's what proved that to me. Because Georgia, May, and Tyler, they all killed it on vocals on this album. All the wonderful Baroque and indie folk instrumentation across this entire album is just so beautiful. Such wonderful song ideas, especially songs like For the Cold Country, Nancy Tries to Take the Night as well. Such beautifully written songs all over this thing. It really is a you can't miss it album if we're talking about indie music in the 2020s or music in general. Even like alongside Black Country New Road's older catalog too, it really stands up with the best of it. It's just beautiful. At number 4, I'm going to place my hip hop album of the year, Magic Alive by McKinley Dixon. I was so happy with how this record turned out. I got into McKinley Dixon at the tail end of 2023, not super long after he released his last record, Beloved Paradise Jazz, which I thought was absolutely beautiful. And Magic Alive, I think, just amps everything from that record up an entirely new notch. I mean, the live jazz rap instrumentation is so beautiful. The song ideas are so fantastic. All the songs just flow together so well. I mean, it really does feel true to its name, and that the album feels like this whole new magical world that it creates within its sound. There really isn't any better words I can use to describe McKinley Dixon's music than colorful and vibrant. It genuinely feels like it reworks your perception of the very world around you. And there's so many songs on here that fit that same cheerful and celebratory vibe, like the title track, as well as We Outside Rejoice, which has an amazing hook, by the way. It was such a joy singing it in concert when I went to go see him actually earlier this month. Yeah, it was such an amazing time. But McKinley Dixon is someone that you can't afford to not pay attention to right now. He's doing so many amazing things within hip hop as a genre, and ignoring him before we reach 2030 would be a crime to do so. Please go listen to this album. It's beautiful, it's lush, it's vibrant, it's gorgeous. There's nothing like it. And at number 3, a beautiful record that honestly shattered my expectations. That's going to be Quadeca's new record, Vanisher Horizon Scraper. I had pretty high hopes for this record. Scrapyard did grow on me quite a lot over the course of the past year. The first few times I listened to it, I thought it was good, but it didn't really click with me that much. And then Scrapyard finally clicked with me. And then I really got excited for this record. And then when I gave it a first listen, I was speechless for at least like 30 minutes, like after listening to this record. The songwriting, miles and miles better than it was before. And it was already good, mind you. The instrumentation, the production felt like it was a flex the entire album. Just absolutely immaculate attention to detail throughout pretty much every single song on here. The closing track on here features Maruja, by the way. You can tell why that's probably in my top 3 favorite songs of the year. It's incredible what Quadeca manages to do on production with that song, where it makes it sound like the waves are literally crashing into him, like they're crashing into the microphone he's recording out of. Is just mind-blowing to me. The instrumental performance from Maruja is incredible. There's so many incredibly written tracks. Monday, Godstained, Forgone, The Great Bakunawa with Danny Brown. I could go on and on and on and on and on. It's such a beautiful record. You could categorize it mostly as, like, I guess singer-songwriter, but there's like elements of hip-hop in there. There's elements of neo-psychedelia in there. There's elements of art pop in there. It's got pretty much everything. I think it's Quadeca's most ambitious work to date by a mile. I think it's his most brilliantly executed album by a mile. At least at this point. He could definitely outdo this if he wanted to. But yeah, I was just blown away by Vanisher Horizon Scraper. Absolutely an essential of this year, let alone this decade. Please go listen to it. Oh my god, it's incredible. And at number 2, penultimate album of our list, a record I've been so addicted to, I haven't been able to put it down for the entire 4 months that it's been out. Cameron Winter is back, and his band, Geese. It's getting killed. So happy with how this turned out. Easily rock record of the year. I mean, as long as we're just talking about, just straightforward rock records, at least. But, man. Cameron Winter, you have to be living under a rock at this point to not know who Cameron Winter is. I mean, at least if you consider yourself, a fan of indie music, or I guess music generally, over the course of the past, 2 years, probably. But he's just an incredible songwriter, with an amazing voice. He absolutely kills it on every single song on this record. Taxes, Bow Down, Long Island City, Here I Come, Islands of Men, Husbands, this self-titled song, Cobra, Alpies to Cocaine, you name it. He kills it on every single song. The band's incredible. The production from Kenny Beats, of all people, is just so good. The focus he puts on the drums, the guitar tones, it just feels so raw. And that's what makes it such a fantastic rock record for me. We're already 3 super popular, beloved albums into Cameron Winter and Geese's career at this point, and I'm still so excited for what he's going to do next. He is full of surprises. He could come out with a solo album that's in an entirely new genre, and it would still probably be fantastic. What an amazing record. And here we are. My number 1 record of the year, my favorite album of 2025. You've seen him here before. You probably know what's coming, because I haven't been able to shut up about this record. You've seen him here on this list before, though. It's Maruja, Pain of Power. I was floored when I heard this album for the first time. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the fact that I was so excited to finally hear Maruja drop a debut record after hearing how amazing their first 3 EPs were, one of which was on this very list. Or maybe it was just the fact that this album, I think, so beautifully feels so fitting for the current day and age. The really dark times that we're in, the really fear-filled times that we're in, the really hatred-filled times that we're in. This album feels like such a comforting reminder that in the end of it all, solidarity, reconciliation, community, compassion, they will all prevail in the face of both hatred and apathy. Pain to Power is an album that does feel very comforting, yes, but it also does not skip out on what makes Maruja such a thrilling band in the first place, too. The fiery, visceral jazz punk energy is all there in spades, from the very anthemic Look Down on Us to the 10-minute Born to Die, an incredible track with an almost post-hiatus Swans-like breakdown in its final leg that's just absolutely incredible. Trenches being like this almost Rage Against the Machine-like jazz punk banger. It's incredible. Break the Tension as well, just feeling like such a claustrophobic representation of political tensions reaching a boiling point. It's got pretty much everything I ever wanted out of a debut Maruja album, and it seems like they've already forged a sound that's all their own up until this point. And this is, again, their debut record. They've been active for what now? Like 2.5 years? Maybe 3? At least mostly, not considering the one like single they dropped back in like 2018 or something like that. They've been mostly active for the past 3 years. And they've been doing this. That's just incredible to me. I mean, it should be pretty obvious by now that by how much I'm gassing these guys up, that Maruja is now like easily within the top 3, maybe top 2 of my favorite bands of all time right now. At least when we're talking about currently active groups, they're definitely within that top 2 spot. They've just been blowing my mind left and right, from the EPs that they've dropped over the course of the past like 2.5 years, to this debut record, to the live show I went to go see of them like just back in September when this album dropped. Everything they've done up until this point has blown me away. So happy with this record. So happy to be talking about it here with you guys. I really urge you to go listen to this record. I think it's absolutely incredible. Definitely, definitely, definitely deserving of my pick of Album of the Year. And there we have it. That's my top 25 favorite albums of 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really like doing these kinds of videos at the end of the year. I really like talking about the albums that I've really been enjoying every given year that we've been doing it, which so far has just been 2, but it will be more in the future, hopefully. I do want to get some better equipment for the next one. Hopefully, I wasn't really in the ballpark to afford it this year. Maybe something new will, happen next year, but we'll see. But regardless, you hopefully will be seeing a new version of this for 2026, and I'm hoping some really good records come out. I'm actually mostly in the dark for what's coming out next year, so really excited for that. I think the only thing I know is maybe coming out is a new Underscores album. That should be really good. I know that, but I'm going to leave the surprises up to when the new year finally starts. So, again, thank you so much for watching. Have a happy new year. Hope you had a happy holidays, and I'll see you all next year.